Hello, and welcome to episode 6 in my Photoshop editing series. I've not done one for a couple of days. I've been really busy doing some landscaping and digging foundations for my new garage while we're in lockdown for the coronavirus, and I've just been shattered. But I just felt in the mood tonight to do an edit, and I've been going back for these videos through old files, looking for images that I've not edited before, and I've come across this one. I took this photograph in the Lake District at Buttermere, and I was leading it's not really a workshop, it was like not a one-to-one, a one-to-two. Two ladies booked me. They're both good friends of mine now, Sharon and Ivy May, and they booked me to just take them around the lakes, particularly the South Lakes, for a few days. And this was one of the scenes that I took a shot of, and I quite like it. I don't know why I've never edited it, but it's got quite good drama. So I'm going to open it up. Open it with Photoshop. Now, a friend of mine, Ian, has given me a tip. And it's something I didn't know about. And he said when you're sharpening the image, I don't sharpen images in Photoshop because Camera Raw automatically applies a sharpening of 40. And what Ian said was, if you apply masking first, it sharpens the image without adding noise. And I've tested it, and yeah, it does seem to. So, I mean, there's not really any noise in this because it was ISO 100, but it does remove some of the sharpness while you do this. It's not really applicable, to be honest, in this image. I won't do it because there's no noise in the image, and if there's no noise, you just don't need to. But perhaps in another video, when I'm editing a more noisy shot, I'll show you. But effectively, you just bump your masking up to about 70 or 80, and it adds sharpening, but just to the edges. It's really good, it works. So thanks for that, Ian. Now I'm going to do my normal editing, but this time what I'm going to do is I've just done the basic lens correction. I'm going to open the image unedited, because somebody in one of my videos said it'd be nice to see the before and after at the end. So that's completely unedited apart from lens correction, and I'm now going to start editing it in Camera Raw. And my initial instinct is there's not that much colour. Perhaps it'll make a good monochrome. And I do like it in monochrome, but I'm going to stick with colour for the time being. And start off with a curves adjustment. I'm going to lift my shadows, which I do quite a lot, lift my blacks, and then push the shadows down. And this kind of flattens all the darker areas. And all the time here, I'm just looking at the picture. I'm not looking at what I'm doing. I'm just grabbing a point on the curve, and I'm kind of moving it just to give me the effect that I like. So I quite like that as a starting point. Dehaze. Yeah, I'll add a bit of dehaze. I'm cautious with clarity, as I've said before. Going to up the vibrance, and this is something you'll see me do a lot in my videos, is lift the whites and pull back the highlights. And it's just adding contrast to the very lightest areas. That pull my contrast back just a touch, and I think that's beginning to look quite interesting. Yeah, so I'll okay that. So you can already see straight away that I've added quite a lot of punch to the photograph in that initial edit. And I'm going to try some split toning. And this is one of the times when I'm not just going to guess and start sliding them around. I'm going to think, what do I potentially want to do to this? So the light obviously was coming in from the left-hand side, early morning. So I'd like that light to be a bit more golden and warm. So I'm going to move my highlights to this kind of orangey area. And just there, add a bit of that in. And then to add contrast, because I love colour contrast in my photographs if I can achieve it. I'm thinking the shadows would be nice if they were a touch bluer. Yeah, bluer nearer the green, I think. And then I'll just go back and possibly, yeah, warm the image up a touch. Like that, and then go back here. I quite like that. So that's definitely made it more of a colour image. It's really brought those colours out, and I think that works quite nicely. I do find this green tree here a little distracting, so duplicate it back into camera raw, and what I will do here is I want to get these greens to match these warmer tones. So I'll take the green and I'll move the hue of the green over to the left, and the yellows, greens have got lots of yellow in them. I'll warm those up as well. Sometimes there's a bit of aqua in there. Let's have a look. There's a bit. I'll move that over there. And then possibly desaturate the blue a touch, the yellows a touch. There we go. Right, so I was only looking at that tree there. I wasn't concerned what was happening in any of the rest of the image. It was only in that tree. So I'll apply my black mask, zoom in, and with a white brush, I'll just paint those greens back to how they were just edited there. And I prefer that. It's just a bit more harmonious than that green just really jumping at me, which I don't like. It was just dominating too much. So I like that. So I'll merge that one down. Now, we've got these trees forming a line here, which is nice. We've got these here that I like. And I quite like these up here. These trees that have just caught the light, but I want to make those maybe pop a touch more. So by doing a curves adjustment, like that. See, with the adjustment I did there, it's added way too much to these. It's made these way too bright, which I don't like. I was only really wanting to add it to here. So it's a black mask. Again, a white brush. And it's only had a very subtle effect, that. In fact, it's not really done anything. I probably needed to be a bit stronger with it. And I definitely do want to achieve that, so I'm going to have another crack at it. Let me just pull, let's pull the whites up. There. Yeah, it's gone a bit stronger, that. As you can see, it's completely ruined all these, but again, I'm not bothered because I'm applying a black mask. Yes, that's better. But I don't want it 100% on there because that's making that one too strong. If anything on there, I'm just going to add it at 14%, just a bit, that's enough. I'm just going to just paint it away from there. Yeah, I like that. So all these small adjustments I'm doing all the time, and you know, just thinking how can I kind of tweak the best out of this shot. Now, crop wise, I'm wondering if this will work in a 16:9. Losing some of that top. I have got some reflections down here, but I don't know if they add too much to the image. Has that got more impact? Yeah, I definitely prefer it. I prefer it cropped down like that. I think what I'll do now is I'll add some type of vignette to remove the brightness on these trees on the right and some of these trees on the left to draw me in to the image, because at the moment my eyes are kind of going off the edge. So it's a question, this is a question of sort of pulling just darkening those down really. There we go. Add a black mask. I'll just move my brush now to 33%. Right. See that there? That's just drawing me in. It's drawing my eye to the centre, keeping me away from these edges, which is just a little bit more pleasing. I've got a feeling this tree in the centre is just dominating and is a little too bright, so I am just going to have a go at just knocking that one back. Yeah, that's better. On that. There we go. So we're beginning to see now that image is coming together. Let's have a look at it. That's your camera raw image. There's my edited image. And that process I've gone through there, in fact, I'm just going to go back in time, and I'm also going to just take a bit off there as well. I just like it knocked back a touch. That was a bit too much. I'm going to take the opacity down and just be a bit more specific. There we go. I like that. So you've got a camera raw. We've got the edited image, and there's a waterfall behind here, and I'm finding it's a kind of bluey colour because the water does tend to show as blue. I'm finding it just a bit distracting. So duplicate my layer. I think I'll take a clone stamp and I'll set it to darken. And then I'll select tones that are similar. So I'll select the centre of the tree trunk, move that down to here, and then I can happily just darken that area there, and I prefer that. Just being knocked back. These are very little, the little tiny parts of editing. They don't make a massive difference on their own, but cumulatively they do make quite a large difference in the end. You know, you think, well, I can't really see the difference too much. But if you don't do any of them, yeah, boom. It's really beginning to punch that. Now, there's a method I occasionally use. I'm going to have a try of it now. And what I do is I duplicate the layer. You might have heard of all this luminosity masking and all this kind of stuff. I don't really, I've never looked into that too much, but what I do is I do duplicate a layer, go into camera raw, and then do a black and white conversion. So I turn it to black and white. And what I'm looking to do here is to add a bit more definition into these highlights. At the moment, they're nice, but they're quite bright, and I'd like to just sort of take that back a bit. So I'm going to do a curves adjustment there. And I think that's done it somewhat. Yeah, it's knocked that back a fair bit. And then I'm going to go a bit further, go into the colour adjustments. There. Okay. So I've made this black and white edit there, which I think in itself looks quite nice. I do quite like it. I'll duplicate that layer. And then what I do is I apply this as a layer by changing the blending mode. Instead of normal, I turn it to luminosity. So that luminosity that I've applied to the black and white is then applied to the colour image below. It's much too strong at 100%, so I'll reduce the opacity. So I'll start at 0. And I just like what it's done to those trees there. It's a bit strong at 54%. I'll knock it back to 42. And I don't want it applied to all of the image. So I have my black mask. I take a white brush at 100% and just paint it in to sort of the relevant area where I want that effect to be added. There we go. There, it's just knocked it back a bit. And I like that. Having done that, what I also then do sometimes is I duplicate the colour image that I've got, move it above the black and white layer, and apply that as a luminosity mask back to the black and white, which is better. I definitely like the colours in this image, so it's not a black and white shot for me, but I just use that black and white layer just to get the tones how I want them to be. And it is quite, even though it was a bright sunny day, it's quite a sort of moody image, I suppose. There's some people down here, some photographers. Hey, you might recognise yourself. That's kind of an interesting hat. So anyone who wears that hat might recognise themselves. I could clone those people out, but I'm not that bothered really. It's more of a sort of demonstration edit anyway for you to see. But I hope you've got another idea here, possibly a couple of little tips and methods that I use. But again, I keep saying it's more about the way that I use the tools rather than having any amazing tricks. It's going back, painting them in, using brushes. I've just noticed there's some nice light coming down here. I wonder if I could sort of enhance that. So if I go down to that section down there, oh, there's someone else down there as well. So I've done a basic curves on that, but then I'm also going to up the luminance of the greens and the yellows, which are these highlights. I'll take the saturation of them down a touch as well, and again move the hue. Okay, so it's completely ruined the photograph, but if I just apply this just to this area at the bottom there, just giving that a little pop. Only a small difference, hardly any difference, but like I keep saying, it's these small differences that add up to the total. So I'll now get rid of that black and white. I don't want the black and white. And these are the layers in between. I've no use for them. They're only taking up space on my hard drive. And that's the finished shot. So, hope you've enjoyed this video. You might have just sat there listening to your music, watching. I wouldn't blame you if you did. But just to give you sort of an insight into my editing process. Thanks for joining me again. And I'll have another one for you to watch shortly. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.